Well, it's interesting being at a small business boot camp and the first person they bring on stage is a recruiter. And that's what I am. I do sell small business plans. I do sell in the group market, although I always bring a group expert with me, hint, hint, when I go out on groups, because I don't do it all the time. But the number one thing that I do is I recruit. And really, when we're looking at recruiting, what we're going to talk about today is specifically B2B recruiting. And here's the thing, the reason why I hope that this is why Nick brought me up first, and I think it is, I know it's his philosophy, and that is that nothing starts without recruiting. None of you would be in the room here, none of you would be out there in TV land without somebody having recruited you. So that's what happens. Now there might be people in the room that say, I'm not recruiting. I'm just not going to, I don't know, you don't like people or whatever. You're just not going to go out and recruit. But the same thing will happen to you that happened to me the other day, and that was I'm talking to a gentleman about the membership, and he says, is there some money to be made? And either at that point you have to lie, or you have to recruit them. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I think you'll see the topics are professionals. Now, everybody, I believe, can learn how to do small business sales. I really do believe that. However, some people are going to be more natural at it. For some people, it's just too frightening for them to go out. How many people would they say in this room? I can't see the folks despite what Nick said. I can't see you out there in TV land. How many of you in the room would say you're natural salespeople? Yeah. And that's probably why you're in the room here. But a lot of you, how many say, no, I'm not a natural salesperson? But you're willing to learn? Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about who we target. And again, I'm an equal opportunity employer. I recruit everybody to a certain extent, as long as they have the will and the desire. But what I will tell you is that when we're targeting in the B2B area, I'm looking for some specific people. I'm going to talk about where to find them. Has anybody ever wondered, where do you find a Nick Serba? Where do you find a Tracy Broughton? Okay, we're going to talk about that. You want one of those? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Or do you find a Lorda Rasmussen? Well, we're going to talk about that. Where do you find these people? And then how do you recruit them? What is the process of recruiting? So let's get right into it. I want to also tell you that I look at my business, and I did this before it was this. I looked at my business as a multi-million-dollar business. Right. How many people know what size their business is in the room? Because if you don't figure out that what you're selling, because what do companies talk about? They talk about their gross sales. That's when we say we were a $500 million company when we were sold. That wasn't a $500 million profit. That was gross sales. So what are your gross sales? What kind of a company? I run a multi-million-dollar company. Many people in this room do. That changes your perspective, don't you think, on what you're doing and who you're talking to. So what we're going to talk about here is the first things to do. Think about if you were running a multi-billion-dollar company, who would you be hiring? Who would you be recruiting? Think about think about it as a job. We don't call it a job. It's not a job. It's a business and it's an opportunity. But it truly is. You have to think about it like a job. So, you're going to go out and let's think about what does somebody who does small business, and we'll just talk about small business because that's what the purpose of this today is. So what do they do? Well, they go out and they find prospects, right? Because is anybody handing anybody prospects? You're a director, you get one or two every once in a while. But no, nobody's handing you prospects. They're going to go approach small business owners, right? They're going to find out if that small business owner is in need. And we've got this great tool, the directory listing. If you don't know about it, ask somebody, tell me about that directory listing. Because it's a terrific tool. They set appointments with those small business owners. They professionally present their services, and you're going to learn. If you don't know how to do it today, you will not leave here without knowing how to do it. They close the sale. How many people like that? Yeah, we want to close the sale. It's important that you don't go through all those other things and then don't ask for the money at the end, right? And then they ask for referrals. Now, does that sound like your job description?
Yes.
Anybody got any different job description? That is what we do day in and day out if we are running a small business. So the question is, who does this? Well, this is just it's a partial list. But these are people who are already out there selling, and the people who are buying are primarily small business owners. So they're selling copiers, telecommunications, financial services. You know that I just have to tell you this because this is such a fascinating statistic. 70,000 financial services people in the city of Atlanta. Right. Wow. Just think about that. Insurance, merchant services, and there's 1,000 merchant service companies in Georgia. So just, again, thinking about what's life like for these people, and payroll services are those, and I'm sure you could add to that list. That's just a partial list. So why are these people ideal people to look at it? And I'm not suggesting that they're currently doing this. Maybe they did it in the past. Maybe they are currently doing it. We're going to talk about how you recruit people who are currently doing something. But why are they ideal? They already have a customer base. Right. They already are talking to people. They don't have to think, who can I talk to? And if they don't have a customer base, they know how to create one. Maybe they left the job and they weren't able to take their customer base with them. They're extremely competitive. If you are in a market where there's 70,000 other people doing exactly what you're doing, right. If you're successful, and is it better to go after successful people in other fields or where they were failures? Yeah, thank you. Just in case. Yeah, you want to go after successful people, and they understand or use cold calling techniques. Do you know some of these folks, let's go back to that list again, merchant services. Is anybody a merchant out of the merchant services industry here? Anybody? One person? You call on a lot of people, and so do all your competitors. So you have to learn how to get in. I have a young man that I recruited out of that industry, and he is slick, oh my God, but honest, nice guy, slick, but he can get in and talk to people, and he does it because he had to go up against the reputation of his industry along with his competitors, along with the fact that most people already have those kind of services. They have it through the bank and whatnot. So the cold calling techniques that they have, they know how to do it. There are people whose job is to call on 50 to 100 businesses a day. I'm not going to ask this question because I know the answer to it. If you're selling the small business plan, very few of you are calling on 50 to 100 businesses a day. If you were, you'd be up here telling us about it. So the other thing is that they can add this to so if they are existing, they're still working in that industry, they can simply add this as an oh, by the way. Although for some of them, again, thinking about how competitive it is, they actually are leading with our service. Why is that? Because you guys aren't calling on 50 to 100 businesses a day, and therefore, and in Atlanta, this is probably the people who are the most gung-ho, ones out there really working. People haven't been called on. Nobody's ever heard of this. It's a brand new service to them. You are not the fifth person who has come to them this week asking them to buy something that they already have and then trying to be more competitive than the last guy that came in. Does that make sense? So they can either lead with it, or once they've made their sale, they can go, oh, by the way. So what can they make? They can make an extra $200, $300, $400, $500 on the back end of a product that they've already sold, and they'll get paid when? 2, 3, 4 days. So it's called cash flow. So they really like that. And it creates something that many of them don't have. Now, people will tell you that they have residual income. The merchant services people, who's my merchant service guy? You have residual income, right? You get a little piece of the action. But for how long? Do you get to own it? Some people do, but most companies do not give, and I'm saying this because I want you to understand, this is the selling point that you're giving to those people that are looking at the services that you're offering. And you're saying to them, not only do you own your book of business, but it's willable. down 2 generations. That is, at least from my experience, unheard of. You own your business. You're building that multi-billion dollar, there will be people in this room who will eventually have a multi-billion dollar business on their own. Yep. And they're doing that with where they own it. They can sell it, they can will it. It's fabulous. So, who else? Well, small business owners. Do small business owners need cash flow? Yes. You know, sometimes the product and service they're selling, they have to do it. And then I'll think about my husband. He has to do the architectural work, and then he gets paid 30, 60, 90, 120 days. He needs cash flow. So if it fits with their business model in particular, and what's it fits with their business model, if they're servicing and selling to small businesses, this fits with their business model automatically. How about CPAs and bookkeepers? How many CPAs/bookkeepers do we have in the room? Look at that, folks. These folks are talking to people every single day, right? Small businesses, and they know that they need cash flow. So it's a conversation that just naturally will come up and start just because you're working with them. They can see it, and in many cases, they have seasonal businesses, so that's another thing to look for. Who's got a seasonal business? Business coaches and advisors. Do we have any of those in the room? Okay, couple. Business coaches and advisors, again, big ticket item for most of them, but sometimes it's cash flow. Now, here's the other thing. When they meet somebody, let's say they meet you on the street, and let's say their ticket is, I've heard anything from 500 to 3, 4 on up, 1,000 a month for their services. Maybe you're not ready. It just might not be the right time. You might not have the cash flow right now, but you could become their customer if they were selling the small business plan and the toolbox and Legal Shield. So you make them a customer. So what does that mean? That means they get paid for prospecting. No, it isn't thousands of dollars every month they make from that customer, but they keep that customer. They have a relationship with that customer. Many of them are starting to find, particularly with the toolbox, that they have tools that they can utilize along with it, which means they have longevity with that customer. That customer, when they leave them, see, this is the thing, they're making big money up front. This same thing with realtors. They make a big chunk of change, and then they have to go out and find another customer. Eventually, because of our residual, because of the way our plan works, we actually keep our customers, hopefully forever, and certainly getting paid on them forever. Professionals who are offering services, so I've got web design. These are just a few. Web design, graphic artists, organizers. Again, people are interacting with our customers, and this is what I say. It's real simple. I just say, if your customers and my customers are the same, we can both make some money here. Yeah. Are you interested? Good. So that's as simple as it gets.